This is a tough one, y'all. I want to welcome y'all to this brief introduction to what I'm about to do with this particular show, this feature show that's coming up. It won't just be myself, but I had to chime in with this particular show and opportunity because we've been talking about it, me and a couple of my really good friends, former ball players who even played not only just in high school on a collegiate level, but also in the pros. But this show is going to be titled I Am Student Athlete, where we're going to try to go in and help these student athletes and not only try to enlighten them about their athletic career, but we're going to also help them to make the transition from off the football field. That's one of the key components that we want to do in the future. So I'm just doing this as a prelude. We're going to do this show a whole lot different than other shows that I normally do. But I Am Student Athlete is definitely coming. It's definitely coming. And with God's help, we're going to try to make that platform one of the biggest platforms around the country, God willing. So I want to share this with you all because I want to chime in on something about the Deion Sanders situation down at Jackson State University. And as we already know, he's already accepted a job at Colorado University. A lot has been said, and I've kind of kept quiet in a lot of ways, just trying to listen to both sides of the equation and just taking it all in. There is a saying, an old saying, age-old adage that says that fair exchange is no robbery. Well, that just depends what was the exchange and what value did you place on it. There's a lot to be said on both sides of the equation as it relates to Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, as well as Jackson State University and its business people and alumni who attended the school and those who show up when the cameras are on versus really giving back to the community and trying to make a gallant effort to keep Coach Prime as well as his coaching staff in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, having said all of that, I want to share this little brief PSA. That's what I'll say, a little PSA announcement regarding the whole situation. First and foremost, I heard the president of Jackson State University, I forget the gentleman's name, make a comment. He tweeted out something in regards to wanting to see Coach Prime fail at Colorado University. I got to be real. I got to be honest. Although when I first heard that he was going to be leaving Jackson State University, I was disappointed, very disappointed, because I think it was much bigger than an opportunity, as he would say, an opportunity. I think the opportunity presented itself by continuing to be a staple in not only the present players that was performing under the banner of Jackson State University Tigers, but also future generations to come. But having said that, I can't subscribe to the idea of wanting to see Coach Prime fail, being an African-American man who came to Jackson, Mississippi, and set out with a vision and did what he said he would do. He did exactly what he said he would do. In fact, he left the facilities in a better situation than when he found it. Now, could he have had a better exit strategy? It all depends on who you ask. Now, I did see the interview that he had with his players, and there were some things that I didn't like. The way he executed. However, I do respect the fact that he did have the conversation with his players and then just up and leave, which I didn't think he was going to do that anyway. But nevertheless, I thought he showed a little bit of being insensitive towards the end when he made a comment regarding those players being in their feelings. First and foremost, they have every right to be in their feelings because you sold them, Deion. You sold them on a dream. And a lot of those players was recruited by you. and they transferred into the portal because of you. And so not to be able to continue the commitment that you made with those individuals, they have every right to be a little salty. I myself personally, I went through the exact same situation, although it wasn't about an African-American coach. But back in 1988, when we had the winningest team at the University of Texas El Paso, commonly known as UTEP, we had the most wins in that university history. That record still stands today. And not only did we have the most wins back then, but we had the most wins out of any Division I Texas school, university in the state of Texas. You can look it up. And that year we went on to play Southern Mississippi University, led by former NFL Hall of Famer Brett Favre, whom I played against. But prior to that game, a lot of people who are not aware, our head coach took another job, just like Coach Prime, took another job at the University of Missouri, the Missouri Tigers. At the time, they was playing in the Big 8 conference. And we got the information, I want to say maybe about 3 weeks, I think it was, prior to us going to the bowl game. And yes, those of us who was returning felt some way. And in case you didn't know, I'll share this with you. On that particular coaching staff, you had the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid. Also, when he was a former head coach, Dirk Cutt, I believe he's the offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, for the Atlanta Falcons. I know he was an offensive coordinator for Atlanta Falcons at one time, then became a head coach in NFL, Dirk Cutter, as well as the coach that the Houston Texans fired last year. My guy, I can't think his name at the very moment, but he was the actual receivers coach at the University of Texas El Paso. And there were several others, including my position coach, Ken Flagel, who coached many years in the NFL. I think he's still coaching somewhere, an assistant linebackers coach in the NFL, but he was once the defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. But that staff left and went with the head coach, Robert Stull. Coach Bob Stull is what they shortened for Robert, Bob Stull, back in 1988. And he carried all those guys with him to Missouri. And so we had a graduating class of a lot of fifth-year seniors. I played with the great Tony Tolbert, who played 12 years with the Dallas Cowboys, 3-time Super Bowl winner, and many other great players, including Seth Joyner with the Philadelphia Eagles. However, he wasn't on that team. He was 3 years ahead of me. But nevertheless, I know exactly how those kids feel, because you're not only dashing their dreams of playing for HBCU, but possibly getting to the NFL. Personally, I don't know for sure, but I don't think that the linebacker, Aubrey Miller, for Jackson State, number 45, I don't think, if he's not coached up, if Coach Prime don't pour into him a better vision of himself, I don't think he get invited to the Senior Bowl and have an opportunity to be drafted in the upcoming draft in 2023 NFL draft. I don't think he gets the opportunity to do those things. So now those kids have to make an adjustment. Now they can do it. They can do it because you have to be married to yourself first and foremost, to believe in yourself, and then believe in the guidance of the next coach that's coming in if he's worth his salt. So I do believe that the blueprint is there for them to build on what Coach Prime did. But again, there's a lot of things that's been said regarding Coach Prime and him taking the position of having to say, as in his words, he was you either get terminated or elevated. And again, we all know that he wasn't going to be terminated. We know that for sure. I do think, looking back on it now, he used Jackson State as a stepping stone to get to where he really wanted to be in the first place. I mean, was his intentions good? I don't think he had any malicious intent. I don't think that he had a corrupt disposition. I think that sometimes success breeds or can breed a little bit of greed sometimes. Now, I'm not going to clamor over all of the things that's already been said, because I think down the road, what I would like to know is his end game. We've seen his exit strategy, but I would like to know his end game, because to say that there's not many African-American head coaches at the Power 5 schools, that's true. And many African-Americans haven't been given the opportunity to be able to coach on that level. When we lead the college athlete, I think it says about 70% of African-Americans that play on the college level, and yet we only have such a small, maybe 4% of African-American head coaches. But I don't know if that's window dressing. It sounds to me like it's window dressing. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when I look at it and I think about it, you could have positioned yourself to where you could have elevated Jackson State and got the same point across. And eventually, if you continue to build, they're going to come. They're going to offer you a contract to play the bigger schools. You know, to play the Power 5 schools, the Ohio States or the Michigans or even the Alabamas. I believe that could have definitely happened. If we could have got a few more players in on the transportal, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, I believe that could have taken place without question. But again, you chose the opportunity, as you say. And I don't know what great opportunity, especially at Colorado. Now, had you stayed around for another maybe 2-3 years, then made your move, man, I could possibly definitely see that. But I had you pegged going to South Florida before Colorado. And then when you get to Colorado, you made a comment regarding no crime. You know, that was a beautiful city and da-da-da-da. And so when I thought about you mentioning crime, yeah, I understand that Jackson, Mississippi, as they say, the SIP, track record is not that good when it comes to certain neighborhoods and certain crime. And I know and do recall last year, after a game, your wallet came up stolen and so forth and so on. But at the same time, you don't condemn an entire university or community for maybe a couple of knuckleheads. That's been the whole problem with us across the board. Again, I just think that the opportunity far succeed any opportunity that you may deem necessary right now when we're talking about elevating not just a community, I'm gonna say a nation, not just a community, because you represented that. You represented more than that. You know, I don't think nobody's looking at you as a savior, anything like that, because they say, you know, Jackson State has been in business for a very long time and has produced some of NFL's greatest athletes. So that's not the case at all. It will continue to move forward like the HBCUs, but it brings the question, was Eddie Robinson Jr. correct when he said you wasn't swag? Did he feel something or heard something or knew something about you, Prime? You know, it makes me wonder now. I have a good friend of mine, and I have to bring this up, a good friend of mine named Willie. You know, he always would tell me, you know, Prime, man, ain't really for them children. You know, I'm going on record with that now, you know, because that was always his disposition when he was coaching up at the Trinity High School. Now, I can't say that he's not for the children. I would just simply say that he's still Deion Sanders. And I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that if you study his movements and his habits, see, we become creatures of habit. And Deion Sanders have habits. You know, he played for 5 different NFL teams, several different baseball teams. So he's a mover. He's a mover. And he made a comment regarding his calling. And that, you know, this is what gets me is when you put God into it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we know that the creator is in everything that we do. But you say you heard this spirit telling you to move to Jackson State University, but then pivot and go to Colorado. I find that to be interesting, especially when we talk about the opportunity. I mean, it's a lot of layers to this. It's a lot of layers to this. But I wanted to just to go on record here and speak my piece about it, because being a former player, former defensive back, you know, it's interesting because when I was coming out of high school, at Wilmer Hutchins High School in Dallas, Texas, my high school coach, he had put a national recruiting book together. And I do recall seeing the name Deion Sanders from Fort Myers, as well as Andre Rison. We was all in the same class together. And don't get it twisted. Me signing with, at the time, UTEP was in the Western Athletic Conference. It was a throwing, passing conference. I got recruited heavily out of the Big 8. Several schools offered me scholarship, and I received letters by others. But I chose to go to a Western Athletic Conference school at the time because if you know anything about college football, at that time, Brigham Young, BYU University in 1984 won a national championship, and they was known to put the ball in the air. That's where the great Jim McMahon and Steve Young and, you know, great quarterbacks like that, even Heisman Trophy winner Todd Depner, come out of Brigham Young. My high school at the time, which was in the District 958, we played against the option schools like North Mesquite and Highland Park. They ran the wishbone. And by me playing strong safety, the Big 8 at the time ran the wishbone. You had schools like Nebraska, Oklahoma State, of course, Oklahoma, and so forth. But I had gotten tired of playing the strong safety position and wanted to move back to corner. And I say all that to say, you know, Prime and I the same age. I'm a few months older than he is. And did not have the accomplishments that he was able to accomplish. But I want you all out there to know, you know, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. There are some who get better opportunities than others. Some who create their own breaks. Don't get me wrong. Prime is one hell of a corner. I think he's the best press corner to play the game. I don't necessarily think that he's the best 7-off or zone or forcing corner. If you put it all together, I'm talking about. But if you're talking about athleticism and if you're talking about press, if you're talking about taking half the field away, there's none that done it better than Deion Sanders. So all of his credentials are as the Alabama, I think the Alabama State coach Eddie Robinson, where he said, I agree with him in his totality about his all-around athleticism. But I also, you know, I'll go on record as saying that I know other corners, to me, play the position in every way possible at that position, being a force when you see flow come your way and being a forcing corner coming up to make that tackle. Yeah, a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people want to sit back there and play man all day and run with the guy down the field. But enough on that. I just wanted to bring that to the head because, again, I'm not taking anything away from what he's already accomplished, both on and off the football field, and what he's done with a lot of these young people. I work with young people myself as well, and I also coached in Little League for 11 years and had the fortunate blessings of seeing 4 individuals whom I had personal hands-on direction with live out their dream to play collegiately and go into the NFL. But again, I think when money gets involved, You know, it becomes like a divide and conquer. And who knows, you know, what he was about to do down in Jackson State. You never know the powers that be. You know, they may say, hey, man, we got to get him out of that situation like that, because they came to him. He didn't go to them. Let's get that understood. Yeah, they came to him. He didn't go to them. So now you're talking about the money now. And everybody knows that the HBCUs are well underpaid when it comes to dividing the wealth. Deion, I think, again, stood for much, much greater, much, much more than just, as he would say, being elevated to an opportunity to where you ultimately will be the one who will get the greatest benefit, you know. And wherever you want, I guess, line yourself up in the pantheon of coaches and the hierarchy of coaches, you know, who knows, but God bless you. This is what I just wanted to say in that regards. But I think Jackson State University, I think the business people in that area, you guys got to step it up. I'm not going to put it all on Coach Prime. I think you all could have done a lot of things in that community to ensure that this man would stay down there, or at least make it hard for him. You know, things that he asked for, things that he did out of his own pocket, you know, out of his own contract. You know, he did a lot of things. And for you guys to make money, he raised the revenue up around in that city, you know. And I heard him say on one of the YouTube programs that when you ride through Alabama, you see signs going in Alabama by Nick Saban and Roll Tide and everything else. But when you go to Jackson, all you do is the GPS tell you that you arrived. Now, how can a man have a undefeated season, win back-to-back SWAC titles, and he don't even get a billboard as you ride into Jackson, Mississippi? You know, that's unbelievable. So we have to do a better job, much better job in support. You have to be able to give back to the HBCUs. If you attended an HBCU, you should be the first in line. I think those business people around there could have did primetime burgers or 21-ounce drinks or whatever, and just donated. If everybody, 100 business would have got together at $20,000 a piece, that's $1 million. So I think that they all could have collectively came together and got more sponsorship dollars to be able to pay his staff, pay his coaches, as well as give him a pay raise. I think that should have happened. But, you know, sometimes, man, we like what's free. You know, if we don't have to cut any corners, that's what we do as African-American people, and that's not fair to Coach Prime and his family. But again, I'm not choosing any side. I'm only just making observations on the left side and the right side. And again, I wish Jackson State University nothing but the best. I think you all have a blueprint. You can build on it. You can move forward. You can go back again and show the world that this wasn't a fluke, that we have an opportunity to go back to back and win. Well, actually, you'll be going back to back by winning the title. But if you win the championship, then you can go back to back and win the championship. And also, don't let what Coach Deion Sanders have done for the city of Jackson to be in vain. You know, he brought College Game Day in. He did a lot of things to shed the light on HBCUs. You know, not only just Jackson State, but HBCUs as a whole. So don't let that go in vain. Let's support one another and wish that man nothing but the best. Again, I'm disappointed, very disappointed. I think that I think him being there would have set a precedence, and I think we could have definitely evolved and got there and showing other bigger schools with bigger budgets and so forth that their water is not the only water that can get cold. And those are my reasons. I mean, I rather would have just went against a grade and went up against the competition and just got more players there. I wish we could have done that. But as the case may be, it didn't happen. But we want to wish Coach Prime and his family the best of luck. Again, this is my first opportunity to bring anything about sports to I Am Student Athlete. We're going to be doing that in the future real soon. We look forward in 2023. And we got a lot of things cooking. So again, I just wanted to add my views regarding the Coach Deion Sanders situation and wish him nothing but the best. And let's stay unified. Let's stay prayed up. And let's continue to push forward. Peace.